Hi everybody, welcome to Do You Believe on Paranormal Zone TV. I want to thank you all so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. If you all would please give my show a like, I'd appreciate that. And for those who may be new to the show, if you would subscribe, that would be awesome. Now tonight I'm really excited. I have my friend Anita Jo Intenzo back. This is, oh gosh, I think this is the fourth show I think we're airing tonight. And what I'll do is on this, after this video is uploaded into the archives, I will put the link to the two other shows that I've aired with Anita. And I'm sorry to say that the other show that I aired was not on my network, so I don't own it. Anyway, Anita Jo was an author. She was the author of A State of Horror. Tonight, our topic is on Dark Transference, which is the sequel to The Estate of Horror. So everyone, let's welcome my friend Anita. Hi, Anita.
Hi, Noreen. Thanks so much for having me on your show again. Appreciate it.
Oh my God, well, I just love your story. I love your story. I've never heard anything like this before. And I would like you to tell the viewers a little bit about yourself before we start.
Okay. Well, I never planned on being an author or even writing about paranormal. That was not something that I had a big interest in growing up, but I instead was an artist, a teacher, and also worked in restoration, photographic restoration, painting restoration. I'm a portrait painter and also restoring antique dolls. And my business evolved, and just like, normal everyday things, you're trying to make a living, you're trying to do your work. I became a single parent, so it was really important for me to keep up with my business and trying to, make ends meet. But 7 years ago, through my dear friend passing away, he had asked me to be executor of his estate, and he was an anthropologist. We were really good friends for 30 years, and he, off the cuff just said, I don't have anybody else in my family that I would trust Anita to do this. And of course, he was a young age, and we would never dream that, I would be becoming an executor in a short time. But I did agree, and unfortunately, he passed away about a year later of a sudden heart attack, and then I became the executor of the estate almost overnight, and that's when my world turned upside down, where in the process of working at his house and accumulation of 30 years, he was a hoarder. He had vast collections of all the things that he traveled around the world, all kinds of artifacts. His parents, who had lived in the house before and passed away, they also left vast amounts of clothing and things that my friend never bothered to get rid of. So I had a very daunting task to do this for him, because the house was being sold and I needed to clear it out. But it took me 10 months with my son's help to clear out the house. Talk about just every room was just covered with bins with things in them, from floor to ceiling, especially in the basement. But within about 5 months in of working at the house and clearing it out for eventual sale, we started having very unusual activity. And me not being very much of a learned person in the paranormal field, I'd watched the shows. I was a fan of the different TV shows, but to actually see something happen that you've only seen on TV, it was just a terrifying and amazing thing at the same time. And that's when we started having poltergeist activity, things being thrown around the room, around the basement. And it was something that it happened all of a sudden that we weren't even sure if it was going to continue. It was a day of just constant things being thrown around. We had been in the basement trying to get that cleared out. We had only recently had the basement had some construction because we had water in the basement, so we had contracted with a company to put a sump pump. And I think that very act of doing the construction and creating such upheaval in the basement, it seemed to activate something that was maybe already there. And after that, it was all hell broke loose, that we had crazy things going on.
Like what crazy things? And also, you refer to what's in that house as sinister entities. And
Yes.
can you tell us about those sinister entities?
Well, at the beginning, we had the activity in my first book, A State of Horror. It documents basically in around May 2009 when activity in the basement came all of a sudden. My son was in one part of the basement, and all of a sudden he saw a music cassette was thrown against the wall. I was in another part of the basement. I heard the crash, but I wasn't sure what was going on. And so we just said, well, maybe with us moving things around, it fell off a pile. But then a second time, another one crashed against the wall. And my son came over to me. He was really upset. He goes, that just went right by my face and hit against the wall. And then, we're just so not used to anything like that. I said, really? Did you really have that happen? No sooner I went over towards his part of the basement that something black went my peripheral vision, and I jumped back and started screaming, like, what was that? And my son looked around and he said, it was a black glove. So he picked up this black leather glove. And I go, yeah, I guess that must have been it, but how did that just get thrown? And that was part of things, like we would be standing still and hear a clanging noise, and we both watched on this wooden shelf, there was a metal can, and it literally started vibrating and just jumped on the shelf, and then it fell down off the shelf, and we just looked at each other like, did you just see that? And that was the beginning of things happening through several hours of just anything you can imagine, and there was so much in the basement. My friend
and Anita, let me stop you for a second. I have a video clip of that thrown cassette.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
let me show.
Thrown, yeah.
Let me show the viewers.
Okay.
Okay, did you guys see that? Yeah, did you see that? Okay, so, and I have other video clips, but go ahead. I just want to tell you that I have video clips of,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a minute, is this was that June 24th, 2009?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I have,
we started filming in June because it was continuing, and at the beginning we didn't have pictures, so my son got out our old camcorder, and I said, you better start videotaping some of this stuff, because I don't think anybody's going to believe us. And there was things being thrown, just some things we didn't see that we saw later when reviewing the film, that, did you know that went by your head? That, no, I wasn't looking, I didn't even know that went behind me. I don't know if you have the one of the dancing cane.
Yes,
cane,
I do.
Yeah, the cane jumps up and down.
And you were...
That was his parents' cane. It was hanging on the end of the wardrobe there. My son's just by the steps, filming myself and his friend as we're going through 15 wardrobes of clothing. His mother hoarded clothing, so it took us hours to clear out clothing in the wardrobe closets. And this thing just jumped up near him while he's filming.
I have that clip. Let me show the viewers.
Yeah, that's really
And
strange.
this was in his basement, right? You're clearing out his basement.
This is all his basement. That's right.
Okay.
Nori.
Let me play this.
I've watched enough and watched crap. We're going through the stuff. We're getting there.
Okay.
What was that?
I definitely got that on camera.
What?
That cane, moved.
Really? The cane just...
I don't know if I got anything of that on tape or not.
Well, I mean...
It definitely wasn't across the thermometer there a few seconds ago.
Okay. Jesus, that's material. Oh, look at at that, the way it's lined. Look at that.
Man.
Yeah, see, she knew like a lot. What was that?
That was the cane again.
Okay. And you know what? Since I think I have one more one, and the title that you had on this one was "The following footage was taken on June 24, 2009, and has not been altered in any way." And I really can't remember what's on this, so let me play it for the viewers.
Okay.
Oh, it's the Throne cassette again, and this is a better image of it.
He doesn't know. Doesn't know him.
There were magic markers and film slides also being thrown. Somewhere he was filming, and he's filming on us. The things were coming from the back of him. He had shadows from different angles. Like you could see that the thing sailed from behind him. Like my son didn't throw the things because he had both hands on the camera to steady it, and he could, because it was a pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Big camera, so he couldn't use one hand like some of the small things they have now. So that's why somebody said, "Oh, you threw it." He goes, "No." He said, "I was steady on you," and he said things were coming from behind me, it's a pretty big basement.
Yeah, and you know what? Unfortunately, that particular video that I did have, it did not transfer over into my file. For anyone who wants to see any of these clips, they're on Anita Jo's YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel? Just Anita Jo Intenzo.
I think it might be a State of Horror 11909. I think, but you know what I could do? I actually have the URL, or I have the what you call the links. I could actually put them on your Facebook, and people can hit those links, Noreen, and they could watch the videos from those links, whatever you'd like me to do.
Oh, well, I can also make you a playlist of those clips, because I did have that one, but when you go from, it did not transfer over.
Yeah, sometimes there's sometimes there's a conflict, because we had a friend of ours who's a videographer. They were much longer, and he just took certain clips that would be the most interesting. But there were a few EVPs that we caught. Just someone saying, "I'm here." Because I said to my friend, are you in the basement? And we heard a hushed voice say, "I'm here." But there was a lot more that made me realize it wasn't just what we caught on video, but the other interactions we had of an intelligent haunting at my friend's house, that I knew it was him, because we were such good friends, and we had so many similar interests that he knew what he could do that I would pick up on, that I would know it was him, and I definitely know he was there for whatever reason, that he needed to be there to give me a message, and also to say, he was sorry that he put me through so much.
I have one EVP that you have on your playlist, your YouTube channel. I can't make out what it says, but let me play.
Okay.
Do you know which one I'm talking about? It was at the end of one of your videos where I got these clips from, and you said this is an EVP, but I don't know what they're saying. Do you know what it is?
I thought it said, like it was almost a rush, like "I'm here," something to that effect, or I said, "Are you an angel? Or have you crossed over?" And there was something like an acknowledgement, like something to that effect.
All right, well, let me play it for the viewers and see if they can.
Yeah, if they
can
can
hear
hear anything. I mean, I hope they maybe can catch something. Maybe we didn't.
All angels.
There. This crap.
Are you an angel? Are you an angel? You want to answer us? Let me know. I don't know. You're a spirit or angel? I thought you'd be with the angels by now. I don't understand why you're still here.
Okay, I'm not sure if you guys can make out what it is. Hey, let us know what it says.
Yeah, I'd love to know if it, if it's something positive or negative. But getting back to your other question, Noreen, about the entities, at the beginning we really figured it was my friend there and that was only positive. I felt like I had no fear that something terrible would happen. But then, as the months went on and more objects were removed from the house, things started turning more in maybe a sinister way or a dark way, because it was in either June or July of 2009. We were outside, and there was a garden house made of cinder block, and that was also filled with so much junk. And as we were cleaning that out, as I'm coming out the door from the shed or the little garden house, I was pushed from my back, and there was nobody behind me. My son and a friend were actually in the yard compiling some trash to put it out, and all of a sudden I'm on the ground, and they couldn't even catch me. It happened so fast, but I distinctly felt something from the small of my back just pushed me, and I had no way to catch myself. I fell over boxes. I had shorts on because it was so hot. I had bruises on my left leg for about a week or two because I hit all the cardboard boxes as I fell. That broke my fall, but it made me get like skin burns from the boxes. So that was not pleasant at all. And then my son was thrown down in August of 2009 that we were inside the house. He was going from the dining room down to the hallway because we had heard a noise, and we realized that was something to distract him, so he would turn in that direction. And as soon as he started going down in that direction, all of a sudden he was thrown to the floor, and it happened so quick. I had turned my head, and the next thing I know, he's on the ground, and he had the wind knocked out of him for about 5 minutes. His glasses fell off. He hurt his arm. He told me later he felt somebody grab his ankle and caught him, and he fell down. So that was something that it surprised us and worried us, because then my son said to me, "This is not your friend. This is something else that he could feel was of a darker nature, that something wanted to hurt us." So
also you talked about Paul being an anthropologist, but tell them where he went and what kind of artifacts he was bringing home.
Well, he was in South America a lot, Mexico, Guatemala, Yucatan area. He was a Mayan Indian expert, so a lot of his research was down there. He apparently brought something back from Peru, because I had Laurie Hull McCabe, who was featured, in my book, and she, with her team, came in desperate. I was desperate. I finally got a hold of someone who would listen to me, and she and her team came that October of 2009 to investigate and find out what we were really dealing with. And she was able to make contact with Paul through her medium that she also brought with her that night, Randy, and that Paul spoke through him and said that we had something that was very dangerous. He had picked it up in Peru. It wasn't something that he knew about that was anything bad at the time. He just had bought it from a farmer who had dug it up either from a grave, or it was not ever meant to come to the surface or to light. And my friend bought it from him, and apparently he had been singled out because my friend had money and he had wealthy parents, so they went and did all this world travel, but he had the money that he could buy artifacts. And apparently something that he brought back from South America had some very bad energy, and that was in the house. And we did not know at the time that this was a total, we were just thrown for a loop. We had no idea we were going to hear something like this, but that must have activated something in the basement, like a portal. So not only my friend was still there, but other either ghosts or spirits or whatever were coming through. So it was a free-for-all then, because it wasn't just my friend anymore. This was now becoming much more of we didn't know what we were dealing with. And Laurie was very concerned when she asked me, where have you been placing the objects and the boxes from his house? And I said, well, I've been storing them in my basement because a lot of them were left to me. He left me all these artifacts. I had an empty basement. I said I just left them there because I had no time to go get a storage unit. I didn't have the money. I figured I'll just store these things in my house, and then after the house is sold and all this has been taken care of, I'll then do a search and go through everything again and see what, is really here, not realizing what I was doing to my house by bringing those artifacts over. But it was way before I started bringing over artifacts in February and March, because his bedroom was one of the first places we were clearing out, and it was like a mini museum, and not realizing until a few months later, when we were experiencing this poltergeist and haunting activity, that I probably did something really bad. But I was so naive at the time. I had no idea that objects could carry spirits with them or anything could be attached. So yeah, I blame myself, for bringing the things over to my home, but it was done in all innocence, because I really was not thinking that any of these things were going to be a problem in the future.
Well, wasn't there one artifact that you were looking for, and you couldn't find it? There was something that showed up and it disappeared, and you've been looking for it. Did you ever? Can you tell the story about that?
Well, this object that he brought back from Peru apparently is a shapeshifter. It changes, and we thought that this was just, come on, this can't be true. But Laurie was very, very adamant about, she says, this can happen, Nina. She says, I don't know how ancient this thing is. If this thing is of this world, like Paul actually said, it was something not of this world. And she said, well, you could take that different ways. She said it could be something that, if it was a sacred object and had been something worshipped, or something that, ancient culture had kept, hidden or sacred. She said, your friend now tapped into something that, has a lot of energy. And she said, if it's a shapeshifter, she said, I don't know how you're going to find it, because it changes color, it changes shape, because it does not want to be found. It protects itself that way.
Oh my God.
So we have things packed in the basement. What has happened by transferring the things over to my basement, and that's why I wrote the second book, it has opened portals in my house. And this has caused many other things that were not really of the original idea of what was at my friend's house, and let's just deal with these artifacts. What it did was it opened a portal and allowed other things of energy to come into my house, because my house is already, which I did not know, my house is on an old property, and I've lived here for many years and never had a problem. But once I brought in those objects from my friend's house and brought them to my home, this created a problem with good versus evil type of thing. And I had Laurie come back to my house then, after we were experiencing poltergeist activity. It was 2 months after we closed my friend's estate that we were trying to get back to normal and live our life. And it was December 24th, Christmas Eve, 2009, that's where my second book starts, that we started having poltergeist activity in my house by having things thrown against my front door, coins being thrown in my upstairs bathroom, and just seeing dark shadow figures, going down the steps. We were just so amazed and so terrified, like, okay, now what happened here? Because there was quiet for about 2 months. That, we figured, okay, we're done with this house. We closed the door on that. Contractors bought the house. They were gutting the place. We had confidence that whatever was there was finally cleared out, because all the artifacts were gone, and we felt that, whoever is going to buy the house, it should be okay. But then, I had the problem at my house. So my house became like his house, and my basement is like his basement, because I have all his artifacts and all the stuff is in my basement. And people have said to me, why aren't you getting rid of it? Well, every time we try to move things, it starts up all the activity. They do not want us touching things and I've gotten a few things displaced because for our own protection, but nobody wants to be in the basement. Nobody wants to be down there for any length of time, and I don't have to go down there very often because my washer and dryer are on my first floor. But it's a problem, and that's what I try to explain in my second book for people to read what has happened and what the sort of a smorgasbord of anything and everything you can imagine of a paranormal nature has been occurring in my house, and I have chapters of different things, and you can ask me about some of those stories.
Well, Anita, when you finished, while you were cleaning out the house to clear it all out for sale, things were going on. Then,
Yes.
when you cleared everything out, did the activity stop in that house?
Well, we left there, and the contractors took over. At no time while they were working at the house did we hear any problem, because I called the lawyer who was handling the estate with the real estate agent, and asked him, how's everything? He says, I haven't heard anything, and I think whatever was there, they're gutting the place, they're remodeling everything, and then the house is going for sale in the spring. We got a call from the contractors, and they had no idea anything had gone on, because we didn't want to worry them or make it in their minds to think that, like, what's that noise? Or we didn't want to taint the whole operation, and felt like, let's leave things alone. They had us come back in April of 2010 said, would you like to see what we did with the house? And it was beautiful. They completely restored, new bathrooms. The basement, I would never recognize it. The basement had been just a place of horror for us. It was, it wasn't really a finished basement. It was, just concrete floors and, partially of a Celotex ceiling, that there had been a little bit of work that my friend's parents might have used part of the basement just to kind of, be near a potbelly stove. There was an old stove down there that was removed, but they made it a beautiful media room. It was, but
Wow.
what was strange though was that they had a separate room for the laundry room, and they kept my friend's father, who was a woodworker, his old bench was still in, because it was really heavy. It was in good shape, and it had the attachments for, a vise. Anybody wanted to do woodworking, or they had a pegboard there. But my son kept saying, why would they leave this in the basement? And I said to him, I guess they thought it was too heavy to really remove it. It really is a big piece. So they just moved it into the room, make it like a workshop. So I said to my son, what are you picking up? He said, there's not much here. He said, yeah, because it's all at our house now. So, we joked about it. But the one strange thing is, as we went back upstairs, we were the only ones in the house, because the contractor said, he said, take your time, go through the house and see what we did. We came upstairs, and there was a sand block. Now, the house was in beautiful, they had put cardboard runners down, because they had put the hardwood floors had been redone. It was beautiful. They pulled up the old carpet. We find the sand block is in the corner of the room. And my son said, how out of place is that? There's no tools or anything left here, because they're going to be showing the house, to prospective buyers. And I go, I don't know what that sand block's doing there, if that just appeared. And then as we were walking through the kitchen, which we did not notice before, there was a cardboard sleeve for an old pack of light bulbs. And again, there was no trash in the house, but there was just this empty sleeve. And I said, and it looked really old too. Like, what is this even doing here? So, like, we had our reserve. Now, someone had said to us, one of the workers happened to say, yeah, I don't know, once in a while we smell a wet cat or something. I go, oh no, that's what we smelled a lot, because he had cats, but you had scratch noises in the wall while we were there. That he had a cat was deceased, and we found his ashes in a box that he never buried. But believe me, we buried the ashes of the cat. It was he never could do that, I guess, himself. But also, he had two other cats that we gave to a friend of his who was more than happy to take them. She was a cat lover. But the idea of, like, hearing a cat meowing or scratching or smelling a cat, they mentioned that to us. And I said, well, he did have cats. Maybe you're just smelling some residue. But we just were, like, kidding. Like, my son was elbowing me, like, don't say anything more. I don't know what's going on.
But, Anita, there's something else that you haven't told the viewers about Nazi.
Yes. That was a surprise when we were cleaning out the parents' bedroom. My friend, first of all, I knew he was German. He spoke German fluently, spoke several languages. His family were from Germany. They came here after the war. He was born in America, but his oldest brother was born in Luxembourg before they came here. There was I think there's a 6-year or 10-year difference with them. Anyway, to get back to it, as we were cleaning out the parents' bedroom, we moved a piece of furniture, and the carpet was not wall to wall; it was a throw carpet. So my son had to pick up the carpet because these small little, like it was a little cabinet. He was moving it, and it caught. And as he lifted up the carpet, we found a booklet under there, and it was a black book with the Nazi insignia, the Nazi swastika, with a gold-headed eagle, the symbol of the Third Reich. And we just looked at each other. I go, "Oh my God, what is this?" And we opened it up, and through my research, we found out what it was. It's called a WEHR, W-E-H-R pass, that these are supposed to be handed in after military service, but my friend's father kept it. Now, I did not know his father was in World War II. His father was older. I know he mentioned he was in the Navy at one time, but I had no connection figuring was he, in the World War II or was a Nazi or anything. But by seeing this booklet and then opening up and seeing his father in uniform, wearing a Navy uniform with the Nazi pins on, whatever, I was really surprised. And what I found out by calling a military expert what this was, it was a pass that military people would keep as they're moving from territory to territory. I don't speak German, but I could make out that it had stamps for different places, but also it said like inoculations. It's supposed to be like you could see typhoid or the German version of like certain diseases that he had been inoculated against because he was traveling. And it had about maybe total of 12 pages in it, like it almost looked like a passport type of book. Well, I showed it to my dad, who was in World War II. He was on a B-24 and bombed Germany and bombed, Nazi stations and in Romania and all that. And I showed it to my dad. The first words out of his mouth was, he goes, "Oh, that so-and-so was SS." I go, "Dad, what are you talking about? This is the man, I knew my friend and his father." My dad said, "Nah," so I'm telling you. I said, "How do you know?" He would not go into, he just looked at this black booklet with that and said to me, he said, "Yeah." I go, "Nah, it can't be, Dad." I would not believe him. So I put that aside, and when my friend's brother came, which we had a very cool relationship at the beginning because he was not allowed in the house. They had bad blood between them. And for this man to see a stranger like myself coming into the house, I could just imagine him thinking, or he actually said to me, "I don't like any strangers going around in my family's belongings." And I made him a promise. I said, "Look, I will pack up everything that belongs to you. I will not throw anything out. You don't know me. I am methodically going through everything, and I will pack up these things." So in those boxes, I found, pictures, and I happened to come across a photograph, which to this day I regret I didn't scan it, but at the time I wasn't aware of anything that I had to do to have this as an evidence thing, but it was of his father in a long dark coat, which he was in the Navy, with a hat, and he was with two other gentlemen in a gray coat, because it's a black and white photography, in front of a building, and they were just joking. You could see that they were joking or smiling. And when I handed the picture to my friend's brother, he kind of looked at me. I said, "Oh, here's a picture of your dad. I'm sure you want these pictures, military and pictures from Germany." And he goes, "Oh yeah." I said, my dad was in a special group that, they were picked out from the different services, different areas of the service. But that's all he said. He said he was in a special group. And I didn't think much of it until later, realizing I had a message from a former neighbor who contacted me because I received a letter at my address, because everything was being forwarded to me as the executor from his address, and she did not know he had passed away. She was sending him a letter saying, "How are you?" And I then sent her the obituary, sent her some pictures, and told her, "I'm so sorry to tell you this, but he passed away." She called me after, because I gave her my card, and as we were talking, she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about about Paul." And I said, "Well, he was very proud of his German heritage." I said, "I try to honor that by giving the brother all different things." And she goes, "Well, Anita, did you know his father was SS?" I go, what? Like, I almost dropped the phone. I go,
wow.
no, I didn't know that. She goes, well, it was almost common knowledge in the neighborhood. He was very mysterious, kept to himself. But she said the main thing that really got to her was they're Jewish. They were Jewish, but they became very good friends with, my friend and his family, and they had a lot of common interests because they also came from Europe after the war. But what was a bonding factor was this woman's mother and my friend's mother were both seamstress. My friend's mother made beautiful clothes and actually had her own label that she did designing. And this woman's mother also, they became very close because they did dress altering. What her mother found out, this woman was moving her mother, who was quite up in years in her 90s, and this woman was moving out of state, so she was taking her mother with her. Well, her mother and Mrs. Yeager were having a tearful goodbye, and Mrs. Yeager broke down, and this is what this woman told me, that she broke down and admitted to her mother, I'm so sorry about the Holocaust because we knew what was going on and nobody did anything about it. And that was like this woman is just volunteering these things to me, and I'm just like taking notes. I go, well, maybe this is making sense. But that was at the house. And then as I wrote my book, I introduced how, they had made contact, and there was his father making contact with us at Paul's house. And he did not like that we were moving things out of the house and was very aggravated that we were even asking him questions about his background. And he actually blanked out the camera as they were recording. They never got the recording. He refused to actually answer this question through this medium that was asking him this. But anyway, we realized there must have been something going on, and my friend was hanging around. His father was probably there. But, when we closed the house, Noreen, we figured, we think we had Laurie Hull and her group that moved my friend onto the light. We did not want him to have to hang around. But he was staying to protect me and my son because of what he felt he had put me in danger with this artifact, and also if his father was around, that he didn't want his father having any contact with us. Well, we closed the door on that chapter. Then we're back at my house, and it starts with the poltergeist activity. We are getting signs that, who is back here? I didn't think it was my friend at all. I wrote in one chapter that I had a client who had come to pick up some pictures that I restored for her, and as she's in my studio, we heard these bangs against my wall to my studio that faces out to the central hallway. And when we went to go look, there were German Deutschmarks. We don't know where they came from, but they were German Deutschmarks, which are not used anymore, and they were dated 1949, and one was dated 1953. And the significance I got out of it was 3 coins, which was his parents and his older brother. They were 1949, came to this country, and 1953, my friend was born in this country. So it's those dates on those Deutschmarks that I found unbelievable. And my client, she was just left with her mouth hanging. She did not know what to say. She goes, I know you were telling me some strange things, Anita, but now I really believe you. She says, where did this come from? And the direction it had to come from was the living room against to the wall where it hit in my studio, outside of my studio, and there was nobody in the living room. But also to have German Deutschmarks, which we found a few coins at my friend's house, but everything is euro now. There's no individual money now that's in the European Union at that point. So that was very strange. But then as we continued the months here with some things going on, my son then had a very vivid dream in, I think, March, April, May. It was a busy summer for my son. He just one morning came down. It was after March of 2010. Had a slip of paper that he wrote near his bedside, and wrote down a name, Martin Sandberger, and a date 3/30/96. And I said, what is this, Chris? He goes, I don't know. He said, some guy came to me. He said he worked with your friend's father. And I said, worked with him. I said, really? So, but I really put it aside. And I actually, at that point, did not know how to do Google, like to do a Google search. That's how, like, this is all new for me. Facebook, Skype, the last year or two, I've had to get used to all this. I put it aside, did not look up the name. My son asked me a week later, did you ever check on that name? And I said, I really don't know how to do a search on this. I said, show me how. Come on the computer and show me. So we Googled, and this name Martin Sandberger comes up. And he had recently died on the 30th of March, 3:30, at 96 years of age. So I said to my son, Martin Sandberger, I said, this guy was SS. I said, this is crazy. He goes, yeah, the guy speaking in German to me, but I could listen, I could hear what he said to me, but I don't speak German. But he could understand what they were saying to him in this dream. So I actually called Simon Wiesenthal Center in California to verify this and talk to Mr. Adam Breitbart, who was their director. And he was very interested in what I had to say. I said, is there a Martin Sandberger that has died and this is international news? He says, oh yeah. He said, he was one of the bad ones. He said, yeah, he recently died. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you something incredible, and you might think I'm ready for a straitjacket, but my son dreamt of this man coming to him, and apparently this man is linked to a friend of mine's father that they said they worked together. And I'll tell you, Noreen, if I did not have that name to start my search, and then the subsequent dreams my son had after that, we had other names. We had it was Joachim Sewerwing, Hans Joachim Sewerwing. My son wrote down the name as best he could make out. He was off by, instead of S-E-W, Sewerwing, S-E-W-E-R-I-N-G, my son had S-E-Y-E-R-I-N-G. That's another name. And he has 900, has another thing, doctor. So we look up this man. And the man had just died, also another SS guy, who was a doctor who had been responsible for 900 children that were disadvantaged and disabled, that he experimented on 900 children, that my son had caught this guy. This guy came to him. And again, I'm researching.
So, wait a minute.
And I'm getting chills.
Okay, so that guy came to your son, but
yes.
Why did he come to him? What did he say to him?
Yeah. Well, we were starting to realize something was up with these SS people coming to us. This was like months of going on. Like, what is really going on? My son was getting a shadow person in his bedroom.
Oh, wait a minute! I have a picture. I have a picture of that.
Yeah, that was in his bedroom. He caught that on his cell phone one morning. He heard a noise. He had his phone right near him. He remembered that. He doesn't even remember taking a picture, but he heard something, saw something, snapped a picture, and then went back to sleep. But the next morning, when he woke up, he goes, did I see what I saw? Looked, and he had captured the image of this floating hooded thing in his bedroom. Then when he showed it to me, I said, Chris, go back and take a picture of what it looks like normally, because you have no reference. You're just seeing this dark thing. So that's what he did. But actually, the second picture is a little bit changed, because he had taken a shirt off the back of his chair and was getting dressed. And that's when I told him, you better go take a picture of the area that this thing that you show before and after. And that's what it shows. But because a friend pointed out, she goes, oh, I saw something that's been moved. I go, yeah, he took his shirt off because he didn't realize he should take a picture. I said, this is like how naive we are with this kind of thing. So he took a before and we have an after, but this thing's floating off the ground. And that was the beginning of all kinds of more shadow people. The shadow man that's on my front cover of my second book.
Wait a minute, I caught that.
You caught that.
I caught that.
That was your doing. We showed you the video, and you mastered that. You got us the 4 shots of that, and that's the best shot of him at the door, Noreen. That was your helping me out with that.
I'm going to show that to the viewers right now.
Yeah, you could show the picture of the one that you stilled the 4 frames of him coming into view, and then there's the cover of my book. That took me some maneuvering, try to get that as a cover. And some people said, oh, well, it's a little dark. Well, I wanted to show what a real shadow person we caught on the door. And I thought, that makes the cover of the book. You know, it's true. And that the original video was taken during a book trailer video that we were making for my first book in July 6, 2012. That's when that shadow man was captured at my front door, because we were doing the video of the front door and it's opening and you see this dark hall. I can link people up with the it's only a 2-minute video of the book trailer, but that's also there. And so yeah, it was with your help, Noreen, because we sent you the video and you were able to still frame that for us, and I thank you for that.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. That's awesome that you use that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The director, Bill Hefferty, who is Just Be There Productions, who helped us with the video, he's now out in L.A. And he and his friend, they are doing some real good work out there. But I said, Bill, did you see what you sent me? He said, there was no one wearing a hat, Anita. You know how many takes we did at the front door. There was like 12 takes they did to have the right creak of the door, to make sure the door's opening a certain way. He said, we had Jack, who was a cinematographer, had the camera around his waist so he could hold it still. And he said, we made sure there was nothing in the view because we wanted to show this silent, it's a plain door with a creaky noise, and then you go down this dark hallway, never dreaming that. He said, I don't know what we captured on your front door. I go, wow, you captured our shadow man that I've seen in my
I wish you had reminded me. I would have downloaded the beginning of that video and showed it to the viewers. Oh God.
There's been so much going on.
I know. Okay, so now
you
oh my God, so you've cleaned out your friend's house. You took all those artifacts over to your house. Did you take pictures of all the artifacts and document them?
We have some because they were done in the rooms, but I have everything labeled in boxes now because when we were going through his house, things were just displayed everywhere. So I had to take each thing, wrap them, and I have each thing in boxes. Laurie Hull McCabe, sometimes we call her Laurie Hull. That was her professional name that we've used. She's married, McCabe. But she's had some sensing of certain boxes that, could have more energy than others. And she's actually had her meter near, like we've had some Indian arrowheads that my friend collected, some other things when he was in South America. I don't know where he got these things. Nothing is hardly labeled that he must have picked up in his travels. But there's been some energy. We had the mummy doll that I think I had on your show another time, and it was a Peruvian cloth doll, and there was some energy coming from that, but we figured since the cloth it's made of is probably 1,500 years old or something, that there could be something attached. But we're not really afraid of those things. It's the unknown, that what we have as a collective of all these artifacts. Bill Bean has been involved at our house. He was not at the first house, at my friend's house, but he was called in after Laurie was here several times. She had a really bad experience in the basement. She was threatened, and they tried to strangle her. Oh. There's a picture I sent you of me in the basement. There's a big white glow. That was taken by Laurie's team. I was sitting in the and she told me to go upstairs. She said, get out of here, Anita. I said, why? She said, just leave. You're in danger. And I went upstairs. She stayed down with her cameraman, and she had terrible visions and a feeling of being strangled. And the visions and the things that were put in her head were so horrible that she had a hard time even giving me a report later, to telling me, you have no idea, what this thing wants to do. And I said, well, who is it? She goes, it's your friend's father is down in your basement. I said, oh my God. I mean, you mean he didn't leave? She goes, he's here. He said, he's in your basement. And she said, and he's really he's got some eyes on you. That, like, oh, Lord. Like she said, I don't know if I should tell you all this. You won't want to sleep in your house. Oh. But I said, well, look, we've got to do something about this. So that's where Bill Beam comes in. That Bill, I never heard of him before. As I said, I was not part of the paranormal community for any length of time, but someone had seen one of my postings on Facebook with some of the like handprints that were on my
Oh
mirrors.
yeah, let me show. Now I remember. Was it the last show that you, your son, and Bill Bean
Yes.
were on the show? And he talked about those prints. Didn't he say? I think one of them. Let me show these. These are really strange. Now to me, okay, so like this one. Okay, like this one. You show a demonic. Okay, wait a minute. I have to put the two pictures together. Now, one of them, you think if they're child fingerprints.
Yes, yes. There's like small little prints. We still get them on my glass coffee table. They're little. They're not elongated or like when Bill came to my house, we had showed him a set of prints. There was actually 3 sets of prints, 2 adult and then a child. Like the child's hand was first, and then these older ones. These like adult ones were over top of it. We saw 3 distinct sets of prints that Bill was just horrified. He said, "This is not good, Anita." He said, "This is bad." And that's when he came and started, really reviewing the house, blessing my son and myself, and then going around the property and finding, really picking up on a lot of things that he had no idea. He was not told ahead of time. He just knew he had to come. And there was something really going on. But from the minute he walked in, before he even came into the house, he felt a presence. He said he felt the dark energy. And when he came in the house and met my son and myself, he talked to us for a little while. We sat around the table. And what he did was put us at such ease. He said, "I want to tell you right now, I believe everything you're telling me because I've experienced it myself." And he said, "You guys are the real deal." And it was tough, Noreen, because I went through a period of time for months at my friend's house with my son. We had a few of his friends come, but they would come maybe to help out, throw out trash, but they didn't want to stay. I mean, they would come and then they would have enough, like, I'm not going back there, because they would experience something or see something and they would be really afraid. So, and also we try to keep a lot of it to ourselves. We did not want to get out in the neighborhood that we were going through all this. We kept it with the lawyer, we discussed things with him, and it's like, and my own family didn't believe me. It's like, you have close family members who think that, oh yeah, sure. I said, "Did you ever know me to make up something like this?" I said, "I've never been involved in anything like this." I said, "I'm a pretty down-to-earth, shoot from the hip kind of person. I don't mince words." I said, "But this, I'm reporting to you what's exactly happening to us." I said, I'm on the phone with my mother and, just telling her that I'm at my friend's house and see a pillow just go by okay, they're already at it. I'm not even in the house 5 minutes. They're already throwing things around the room. And that would happen to us. My son and I would go into the house, even before we approached his house, a block or 2 away, my son would start getting sick to his stomach. And he was very traumatized. He was there at the house. He kept on going because he did not want me to go alone. He said, "You can't be there alone, Mom." And I said, "I can't ask other people to get involved in this, to clear out this house, because number 1 is I don't want anybody else to be hurt. Number 2 is no one knows where anything is. I've got a list of important documents and papers and things that have to go to people. I have no idea where they are. I have to just keep plodding through. It was like a treasure hunt. It was literally like an excavation, Noreen, that you're going from one part of the house to the other, going through tons of papers and boxes and these Tupperware bins filled with things that every time you opened the box, you had no idea what was inside. And that's why it took us 10 months of 40-hour weeks over at my friend's house.
Can I just say something just for a second?
Yes.
I want to do a shout out to Keith Rummel, who is an author of The Deviltry. And he was on the show a couple of months ago. So I just wanted to say thank you, Keith, for joining the show.
Oh.
Anita, those didn't when Bill was on the show, didn't he say something? Those fingerprint. Let me find them. Those fingerprints of the one where you say are demonic, they sure look like hooves, don't they? Didn't Bill Bean say that?
And that's the first time the word demonic was actually raised. I never thought, I just say, oh, ghost left it, or I don't know. A friend of mine had come in she pointed out, she said, they look skeletal. She said, they don't look like they're human. And I said, well, I don't know what these are, but I'm going to document it. And then when Bill saw them, he said, Anita, these are of a demonic nature. And I was like shocked. I thought, oh no, I've got that here too. It's like what else am I going to have? But he said, this could be in contact, the demonic or whatever this entity or this dark force, this is a byproduct of what was brought here to your house. He said, if you have an evil person or evil kind of entity, he said, what they're doing is attracting everything that is of a negative force. And, this was all new to me. Like I was understanding as he was telling us, because he had been through all this. So he did do a cleansing. He was very adamant about the property itself. He said, I might be able to get rid of superficial or the surface. He said, but your property dates several hundred years, because I told him, I said, yes, the property dates back to like 1700s. There's been people, working the land. It was a farm. But he said, imagine how many people lived and died on the property, maybe through sudden illnesses.
Yeah, how old is that house?
Well, my house itself, it dates from 1947, but the property, I'm actually in the foundation of a farmhouse from the 1800s. And the property, the deeds that we've found, they actually date back to William Penn, that in the late 1600s, this area was settled by Welsh Quakers, and they came out from Philadelphia and they started farming the land. Oxen and sheep were in the area. But then, about the 1700s, we get a name of David Lewis. That was the first family we found on a map dating for the early 1800s. And then around the 1870s, there was a second family, the Stantons, that came in the property. And then the early 1900s, that kind of fell apart, that the family, they no longer were living on the property. And by 1922, where my house is now, this was just a foundation left of the old house. There was trees, because I've had a neighbor show me an old map, and he said, Anita, your property was just trees and just ruins, And then in 1947, the gentleman who built the house, he took the foundation and the layout and just built a Cape Cod over top of it. So we actually have in the basement some of the original really thick walls that were part of the property's foundation, and also an old fireplace with the old 1800s bricks that are part of the old fireplace in my basement.
Wow.
So yeah, so there is even probably American Indian, because the American Indian Highway is only about a few miles from here, where they did fur trap lines, and also the major artery from near my property, a major highway, that also might have been originally what the Indians followed as a route. So it became, a regular, a pike that people could travel from Philadelphia out to the Westchester areas where they had their summer homes, because people did not stay in Philadelphia in the summer because it was so hot, and of course with disease, mosquitoes, typhoid and yellow fever. So people would get respite from coming from Philadelphia. They would take it was all boardwalk at one time. Now, of course, it's a regular road, but they actually would stop along the road, and right up my street is a house built from 1812, and it was a Black Bear Inn, and the Quakers owned it, and it was also part of the Underground Railroad during the Civil War. So Bill told us, said, you've got underground tunnels in your house. And I go, yeah, we know. We were told by a neighbor that there's underground tunnels in back of my property.
Okay,
so
Anita,
yeah.
Now, because you are on Indian land, and those artifacts have attachments to them, and they were brought into your home,
right.
Do you think that these artifacts could have triggered up the Indian spirits?
That's been pointed out to me. In fact, Laurie told us, she said she thought there was definitely a Native American element, but she felt it wasn't something that we had to be worried about. She said that was kept at bay. She said there's something darker going on with the property itself, and believes that my friend's family was actually cursed from a long time ago, and figures that's actually carried over with my friend's artifacts or whatever, but also having this Nazi element and having this all come about where my son is dreaming of people who had recently died. They were all in their 90s, and all in 2010, within maybe a month or two, he had 3 to 4 dreams of German people from World War II coming to him, giving him information that I was able then to contact a researcher who went down to College Park, Maryland, and actually find out some really important things for me to understand about my friend's family and connections to the Nazi Party, also World War II, and other things that are not pleasant. I mean, I was on your show, the one that you don't have access to. I was on your show, and we were getting interrupted with you had white noise going on from your computer, that you said something was being interfered with in your equipment, and people in your chat room were finding that there was EVPs coming over the airwaves. And
let me tell them. It was the show that I had aired with Anita. Anita actually was talking at her story, but she was also telling us this time about the reports that she was getting. Those are gifts from spirits. And during this show, I had a viewer, Mola Tovi, and she was listening after the show. She was she was actually listening to it while we were live, but she went back to listen to it again, and she sent me a message, and she said, Noreen, you can't believe the EVPs through the whole show. And she finally stopped. She said there was so much of it. She said the whole show is filled with EVPs. And actually Anita put me in her book. I can't believe it.
That's right.
I'm in her book.
You have to read the book just for that too, Doreen.
I got the book.
Because
and
what I did was it was telling people after I wrote the first book how much that whatever was here did not like me bringing out the things I was bringing out in the first book. And you can bet that they didn't like the second book but I'm actually, as I'm finishing my first book and writing that, I'm getting all this crazy stuff going on, and I'm keeping the diary still going, and I go, guess what, this will have to be the second book, because nobody's going to know or understand what it is to be writing a book, to have your actual literary agent be affected with my manuscript. Like, it just didn't happen here. She would her printer would go crazy. She actually had the printer spit out a part across the room. She contacted me. She said, I don't know what happened to your files. They disappeared off the computer. I had to resend them. She had so much crazy stuff going on at her house that ever since she took me on as a client in 2011, she got more than she bargained for, but yet she had some experience with the paranormal before. So she was interested in my story, and believe me 100%. But her name is also Laurie. I've got 2 Lauries that I deal with, but she has had some really unique experience that Bill Bean has gone to her house and had to bless her house that she had. So talk about how the spirits work. They are using our technology. They're using Skype. They're using email. They're using even my son typing a chapter of my new book, and that's in the book. There's raw data in one of the chapters that is my chapter that we were supposed to be writing, because I had to rewrite everything after I saw what happened. As he was writing, he did not know he was possessed, because if you read this raw, we call it the raw because it's right off of his computer, and we just presented it as it was. We only had to do one change because it was a vile name and we could not have it spelled out, so we just did a capital letter and people could figure out what the word was. But there was a German feeling of someone not liking rewriting this chapter, and my friend and his father's name came up in the actual chapter, and it also has just gobbledygook at the end, but actually looks like an anagram, and we picked out German words that were written in there that said, be afraid, be afraid. So
Can I just read a couple of the EVPs that were over this show? Now,
sure.
And
sure.
you said your son went back and listened, and he picked up the same ones.
Yeah, yes, he did, Noreen. He picked up almost exact phrases and in the same timeline as your viewer, and listener was also, because you sent me a transcript of what she picked up, and that was really helpful because I had that but did not show it to my son. And I said, look, just listen and write down what you hear, and then maybe we can compare. And when he had picked up 70 that he wrote down, and we compared them, and I said, I can't believe how these match, so we know it was the same thing going on.
I'll just tell you a couple of them that were in that those EVPs. I'll effing kill that biatch. We haunt you, and that was a female with a German accent.
Yes.
I need a puke. Soul cremator, and the devil's daughter. I only did what I had to, and I figured I'd do good. Think again. Don't use the phone. Put it down. And then the viewer said that you could hear a business signal after that was said. You could hear that. And then it says, you have the doll. Give it up.
Yeah. That's, I don't know if that's the the mummy doll, but one thing my son caught at the end, it said throw acid in her face and burn. And
on the show?
There was references to the Holocaust too.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was. I got chills just talking about it. But also in the Raw chapter, it's a possessed writer in the new book. That whole chapter, there's references of opposite, like one part my son was typing, we were talking about an incident in the living room. So instead it says living room, it says dead room. That got changed. We went down to, the love seat, it's the hate seat. It's like words, like my son was typing as I'm dictating. He didn't even have time to think of like changing around to a word, because he had no idea. He sent me from his laptop. He said, I'll send you the chapter, Mom, then you go over it and make the changes as far as like get punctuation, because he was just typing. And I started reading this. I said, oh my gosh, what did he write here? And I called him up the next day. Some of it is really funny, too, the way that things were changed around, because it's just so out there. And my son says, I didn't write that. I go, no, I know you didn't write this, but who did?
Oh,
said,
my God.
But as he was typing, he had to get up because there was fingerprints all over his glasses. And he said, what's over? I said, I can't see a minute. And he had to get up and clean his glasses. And there was fingerprints all over his glasses. It's like, what are they doing that they're preventing us from writing this book?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't have like a little humor or feel like this is incredible what you've been through, then, we'd all be ready for the funny farm over here, because it's been so much and constant. But I find it almost like it's fascinating, it's terrifying, it's creepy, but this is my house, and I've always said I'm standing firm. They have to leave, not me, because blood, sweat, and tears I put in to keep this house as a single parent, and there's no way they're driving me from the house. They have to leave. So
all right.
it's just crazy.
And when was the last time Bill Bean came, and is he still blessing the house for you? What is he telling you?
Well, he came, let's see, we saw him in May, but he was at our store. He did a personal appearance there, and he's so busy. He didn't have time to come back. He's promising us to see us very, very soon. He's trying to clear out his schedule, maybe next week, and he wants to come back because, there's still, I've had things broken that were meaningful to me. They're trying to, like, really get to me by hurting me. Like, one of my paintings was hanging up on my wall, and I happened to see there was a big piece of paint just knocked out of it for no reason, and I had to go fix it. It's like, how did this piece of paint just pop off the painting? My son's bow and arrow was broken.
Let me show that. You had a couple of pieces broken.
Yeah, I had a spoon rest that my son had given me. That was broken on top of my glass top stove. That came out of nowhere. I've had a necklace that I wore upstairs bathroom, which is a real hot spot in my upstairs bathroom, where I've had some of the handprints up there. They just broke my necklace, just like all of a sudden I felt a tug and my necklace was broken. things disappearing and reappearing, just to kind of play with you, just to drive you a little crazy, and it's something that some of it is mixed where we think it's very innocent, or they're just playing around like these children's spirits that come through the house. But there's also this dark kind of thing that Bill has been able to deal with some of it, and some of it's been put aside and gotten rid of. But things keep happening. Like as long as I have the artifacts in the basement, which people say, well, why don't you get rid of them? Yeah, we start moving things and we start having all hell break loose again. We have activity, things coming after us. It's like we don't know how to handle this. Like if we get it all out at one time, are we going to have an all-out assault going over here? So it's questionable that you wonder. You don't want anybody else to have the artifacts either. Like but they could be worth valuable. So I don't know if I have to get a museum to come in to check these out. It's a very hard thing to figure out what you're doing is right, and doing it in a way that it's not going to hurt anybody else.
Anita, hold on for 1 second. Are you guys hearing voices? Somebody mentioned something. Royce was, I forget who said. I just saw that. Okay. Did somebody hear something during the show? Roy said he heard a woman but was too low. Planned to go back later and break the video apart. Emma Bejic, I think she heard something as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we'll find out.
Yeah, that's happened. It's been a woman's voice. There's a lot that was already here at the house, and then, as I said, bringing the things from my friend's house. That it wasn't a good mixture. So we're now living the consequences. But
okay, hold on, Anita. Okay, yes, she did hear something. Wait a minute. Mm-hmm. And what did Royce say? Royce said it sounded like she is asking for help and talking about something about to happen, something that will happen. But Royce will get me the information. He'll pull the video apart. He's really good at that. Well, that's interesting. Great. Holy cow. Let's show the viewers another one. This was an imprint on your shade in your window.
Yes. And I woke up one morning. I didn't glance over the window shade right away, but I went over to open it up to let some light in my bedroom window, and I saw this. Go, what in the world? First, I didn't realize what it was. I thought it was a mark, and then as I got further back, I could see it was an impression, and it had to happen from the outside because it's coming inward, and it looked like a handprint or some weird thing that. And it had to be heat to do it because it's a plastic shade. So the only way you can do that is by something being, I think, hot to go against that. I mean, I don't know how it was made, but I took a picture of it, and yeah, it's pretty creepy.
Then you had some writing on markings on a door.
Yes, that's how we found out there was a child here. We were up in the attic and painting some trim, and the door, you can see that's the top of my garage, which is the X. It looks like an old barn effect. We had that door open. We wanted to paint it black and white again because it was chipped, and I was on the opposite end at the door, the entrance to the, it's a pretty large attic above the garage, and I was mixing the paint. And as I had the stick inside the black paint, I was mixing it. And I left the paint stick in because my son was asking me what needed to be done. He goes over to the paint, the can, and he goes, "Boy, Mom, you're really sloppy." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, look, you took the paint stick out. It's all the paint's all over the railing. I said, "I didn't do that." I said, "I just left the stick in." So the stick had been taken out and splattered paint all over the new wood. We had some new railing put in, so we had to wipe that off. So I did that, gave him the paint. I said, "Look, why don't you paint the black X first, and then I'll give you the white paint, I'll mix it up." So that's what he did. He was painting the black X with a brush. Then he finished, he came over to me to get the white paint to do the rest of the V areas. soon as he walks back, he goes, "What the heck just happened?" And because the paint was, someone had put a handprint, they went into that black paint. There was a handprint, and then there was words. So at first, we didn't know if it meant help, but then Laurie Hull said she thought it said Lagos, Lagos, which means Lord in Latin.
Oh.
And she said she got the idea that it was a child, a boy of 8 years old, trying to get our attention. And that was the first idea that we had. There might have been children on the property. And that was June of 2010, right after we had siding put on the house. We had asbestos siding, and we had to have that removed. So we had new siding. So we were doing the trim. And the workers, they had a time of it too. We didn't tell the workers till they were finished after 2 weeks. You want to tell us what's going on in your house, Anita? Why? What did you think was going on? Well, there's nothing like having my tools fly out of my belt while I'm on the ladder 2 stories up, or I'm trying to get something and your garage door's going up and down for no reason while you're not even home. It's like, yeah, well, welcome to my house. Yeah, so.
You should put a live webcam. You should put a live webcam on your house.
Oh Lord!
Hey,
oh my gosh.
Anita, my mod says that he's seeing something behind you every so often. So
okay.
We'll get that information to you. That picture.
That's happened to me when I was on another show. Had some things materialized behind me. I'm in my studio, and a lot of things go on in my studio too here. So.
All right, let's show the scratches. Where did this happen?
That happened when that was one of the first signs of when we had maybe something really bad at my house here. I had gotten out of the shower, and I was and I realized I had scratches. So I finished getting dressed, but I said I better take a picture of this. And there was 3 scratches across my chest. Yeah. I was in the shower. I felt something so searing, like somebody was cutting me.
Oh
and it was and it took a while for that to heal up too, because it drew blood. It was like somebody just took their nails and went across. It was horrible.
All right, and then there's the other picture about your shirt. It was a new shirt. Explain that with the rip in it.
Yes. That's more recent. That happened a few months ago. That was a new shirt. I was sitting at my dining room table, had my agent over for lunch because we were going over the final book project before we were having it published. And as we're just talking, and she said to me, she said, "What happened to your shirt?" I go, "What?" I said, she goes, "It's ripped." I go, "No." I said, "It's a new shirt." She goes, "Yeah." She said, "Let me take a picture of it." And her picture shows the white fingerprints where there was a nail or something ripped the shirt, and you could see prints. She goes, she said, "That just happened right in front of me, Anita." I go, "Okay." She said she's been to my house several times. At first she was afraid to come to my house, but I finally convinced her, look, that nothing's going to happen to you. They're going to come after me before they come after you. But she has had some weird feelings before. But then right at the dining room table, that happened. And so she took that picture. Yeah, that happened. It was this past summer. It just happened. So another thing that it's a personal item and being, destroyed or being damaged. Just like my son's bow and my spoon rest and a necklace and, other things just being broken. I had a beautiful ceramic pot that was my mom's. My mom passed away 3 years ago, and I had it in the garage, was in a box, and I knew where it was. It was on a table, and as I turned my back because I was going to take it out, the box flew over my head and smashed the pot. So I couldn't even glue it back. It was in a million pieces. So I was really upset about that because I really loved that ceramic thing. Reminded me of my mom, that was really pretty, but you just don't know when it's going to come. It keeps you unsettled, unbalanced. Most of it is we try to keep calm and not provoke. That's why I will not have many of the paranormal people want to come. I said my house is not an entertainment venue.
Good.
I only have Bill Bean come here or Laurie, Hull with her group because they are used to things being here, they know what they're up against. But I really hesitate to have brand new people come in, and because I just don't know what the reaction will be. Laurie's, one of her team members, had a very expensive camera, had it in our hallway, the time that she was here when she got threatened in the basement, and he had it set on in my hallway and had it run for about an hour or two, had it just running. When he went back to see what he retrieved, the camera was literally fried. The whole camera was destroyed inside, and he was really upset because it was an expensive camera. He never came back to my house again, and any of the information that he could have gotten was gone. He said, well, I guess they don't want me filming them, and that's an active spot right in the hallway of where that shadow man, when you see the shadow man on the front door and you open the door, that's my hallway. And that's where there's that, activities there. Let me just get some water.
Okay.
So yeah. Oh, but let me show a port. If anybody doesn't know what a port is.
Here, let me put you on full screen. Go ahead and explain this to them, will you?
Yeah. Now, don't think everything is all bad in my house, because we do have a very loving female spirit here that I think she dates from Victorian times. That's what Laurie has told me, Laurie Hall, that she was a caregiver. She identifies with me very much, and she leaves me presents. And I did not know what these were at the beginning. I never knew what the word apport meant, but you pointed that out to me, and I researched it. So what it is, it's something manifesting from nothing, and I found these pieces of threaded, intricate handwork done on my rug, and the first one I found, actually, let me see, I don't know if it's very light, so I don't know if you can see it. The first one, how it came about was, I was watching television, and my son had this was 2010, there was a TV table next to my chair where he has his paints, and he paints miniature models, and he's always painting. But on top of the jars of paint, there was this blue silky thread. So my son saw it. He said, Mom, were you working? I do doll clothes too, so sometimes I'm working with needle and thread. And he said, did you leave this thread here? And I looked at it, I said, Chris, that's not even thread that I have. That looks really strange. I said, it's very silky, very raw. That's not cotton thread that I've worked with. So it was several strands, very long, and for some reason I didn't throw it out. I just left it on my coffee table. The next morning I came down and I see something on my brown rug, and it was blue thread, and it was the threads I had left, but they had been made into a pattern. And let me show you. It's on. I have it under plastic. If you could see, it is a thread that's been worked. Could they all see it, Noreen, with the full screen?
Let's see. Okay, I'm on a delay, so hold on for 1 second.
Okay.
Actually, push it back a little bit. No, put it back up, but push it up. Okay, now, like the top of it, go toward your head. Because there's a bright light, yeah. Okay, go up a little bit more. Up. Yeah, there you go. Okay, hold on. It's on delay, so it's gonna do that again. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Okay, it's on a delay, so you guys should see it.
It's it has like a loopy pattern to it. That was the strangest thing I've ever seen. It was just raw threads, and then all of a sudden, the next morning they're in a pattern. They're actually made into something.
It looks like it's the weirdest pattern. It actually is. Yes, it actually is a pattern, like it's crocheted.
Well, let me show you that. This one happened a few months later. It's a little bit squashed, but you can actually see it's darker blue this time, and you can see the workmanship a little, because it's a little thicker, the thread. It isn't as fine. This just came out of the blue. Like, it wasn't a thread first and then it was reworked. It was just, I went through my living room to the kitchen, and when I came back, this was on the rug. I just was stunned.
Can you imagine that's coming it's coming from the spirits. That is so weird how they can do that.
Like it, And to think that they're just blue, I have them in different colors. There's been purple, red, yellow, white. I'll show you the biggest one. This was actually right around my birthday.
And this just fell out of the.
This This was when I went to my breezeway to go outside. This was right outside my door. That it was. I don't know where the material. It's just it's something that had been tighter, but then it was like I don't know where it came from. It was just laying there as I opened the door, and I've had weird things, right outside the breezeway happen before. But it's like 2 feet long.
Damn.
And it's very, very raw at the edge. It's very silky. It looks like something even like got unraveled, but I still don't know what it's supposed to be. But let me show you another one. Let me see. This is let's see. This is another one that's blue, but this also has a very very open kind of pattern.
Okay, back up a little. Back up. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
And that one also, like I've dated them. Some happened like right around. One was on. Like I had my pajamas folded on top of my quilt in my bed. When I took my pajamas, there was a purple. One of the threaded things was under my pajamas, so I could see it. So now there is a name to Our Lady's Spirit. Her name is. Laurie told me her name is Marjorie. She is an elderly woman. She lived during the Victorian times, and she was a caregiver to the children that had lived in this house, 100 and something years ago. And what is really amazing is that before Laurie even told me about what this woman looked like, this woman was spotted at my front door between the glass storm door and the wooden door by one of my mom's caregivers who happened to be driving by my house at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning, because she would go for a few hours and then my shift would be 2 o'clock till about 8 or 9 o'clock at night on the weekends because my mom was very ill. We had 24/7 care. Well, Sharon happened to be driving by. She didn't tell me till a few days later that didn't know this coordinating story, because that same day, Laurie and several of her teammates were coming for lunch. And while they were here, they picked up the odor of roses and lilacs. And she said, there's a woman who's around us. And she would not leave us alone. She followed us. We could smell this perfume or whatever all throughout the house, that anywhere we walked around, because I was showing Laurie different parts of the house again, and it was just there. It started in the upstairs bathroom, because Laurie said to me, do you have an air freshener that has, I said, no. I said, nothing in the bathroom here. I said, I don't have an air freshener. She said, and it was so pungent, I will never forget the smell. It smelled like old-fashioned tea roses or violets or lilacs. So anyway, that smell continued. And one of the girls, before she left, she said she's not going to come with us. She's going to stay with you, Anita. And then when I hugged her, the smell, like we were both engulfed in this wonderful smell. Well, anyway, I did not know that 2 hours before Laurie and her teammates, that something was at the front door. So when Sharon happened to be going by, she sees something, and she tells me a few days later, without me saying, oh yeah, I had friends come over that were investigating. She said, there was a woman by your front door, Anita. I said, you mean like outside? No, between your doors. She said she had a high-collared, old-fashioned blouse, her hair piled up, and it was grayish, and she said she wasn't from this century. I said, really? I said, and then when I found, then I called Laurie. I said, you told me about this woman, Marjorie, that we were just learning about. Do you know that she was actually seen at my front door? And Laurie said, okay, that verifies it. She said, and this woman told you what she looked like? She said, I told you, Anita, she's from the Victorian times. So she looks out for me. She's a protectorate. That's why I can sleep at night here. Like, yeah, weird things go on. We hear bangs in the middle of the night. There's been things crazy, but I think I have a protective spirit, and she is very close to me. She knows how I took care of my parents before they both died, and she's been seen by my son in a dream, and she was holding one of the children that we know that must have lived here, and the child was deceased in her arms. And my son woke up from the dream in tears. He said, Mom, we have children buried on our property here. And I said, really? I said, like, what can you tell tell me. And he described the woman, the little girl. He had a name. And what I've been able to look up in orphan court records, apparently there were 4-year-old children lived at this property, and they did die, and they died suddenly. And we were getting verification that there might be 2 graves like in the back of my property here. So it continues, Noreen. The stories continue with we're still with the Nazi thing is that's being researched and investigated. I've been told some other things that I can't divulge right now, that why my son and I are targeted, why they picked us, after all of, people after they died. My son is a conduit to spirits that they feel comfortable talking to him because they know he's going to understand the message. But it's not just Nazis. I mean, he's had historical figures come to him. He had a pilot from 70 years ago during World War I who died in the South Pacific. And we got a name, and my son got the name Enid, E-N-I-D, Oklahoma. And when we researched it, Enid is a cemetery in Oklahoma, and that man's name, he's buried in that cemetery. So it's like,
do you know how
my son comes up with this stuff? He has a pad and pencil next to his bed, writes this stuff down, and it gets verified. We have no idea.
To get names is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and newly deceased and people from 70 years ago and from 150 years ago. And it's a child came to my son after Laurie told us about the little handprint, and a boy 8 years old came to my son and told him who he was. He said he had lived on a neighboring farm. He died when he was 8, but he hung around this area, and he had to apologize. He said, well, I've been the one that's scratching you. I've been scratching you guys, and I'm sorry, but the bad man in the basement makes me do it. So it's like, who's the bad man in the basement?
Are you? Oh, Anita! Get the hell out of there!
Yeah. Well, Bill Bean did get this little boy to move on. Thankfully, this little boy moved on, and we even had slaves that my son saw in our backyard through our breezeway window. They talked to him. They said, we're waiting to go home. He said, Bill set us free, that we are on our way home. We're waiting for the train to take us home. And, these were, and then with the Underground Railroad connection, but my son asked them, is it over? She goes, no, there's others to take our place. So it's like, who is taking your place here? That this place seems to be a way station, or something for spirits to hang around before they can leave. So it's all in the book. So
my God. Yeah. And where can they get the book? I'll show it. Let me show it.
The first book, let me see. I can show you. Let's see.
Okay. Hold on. I was going to show a picture of it, but go ahead. Hold it up.
Yeah. The first one is State of Horror.
All right. No, go ahead. Show it. Show it to them.
Okay. That's a State of Horror. That is, you can go on www.astateofhorror.com, and that'll take you right to the links to Amazon and Kindle that the book is being sold there. And then you have the newest one,
yes.
I think, the Picture of Dark Transference,
yes.
which is the sequel. And that's on Dark Transference. You can't make it out to it, but that's the Shadow Man on the front cover of the book. This is the sequel to A State of Horror. And you can get this also on Kindle and Amazon. All you do is go in the books, type in Dark Transference, and it comes right up. Also, it's on my website, AnitaJoIntenzo.com. I think there's a /dark_transference.html. That's a separate page just on my Anita Jo Intenzo website. The book, but you can the easiest thing is just go on Kindle and Amazon, and both books. In fact, A State of Horror, that's where the Haunting TV show contacted us, and they did the episode 2 years ago based on the first book. And if anybody has seen A Haunting on Destination America, now I think they're on TLC, or they're on another channel now.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
It was on Destination America 2 years ago, and they did it was done very, very well with all the artifacts they showed and the story behind my book. And it's called Portal of Doom, and that's been one of the most frequent episodes. In fact, it was just on 2 weeks ago, again on 9 o'clock at night on the Destination America channel. And then they did an enhanced episode the following year, last year, September 2015, called Demonic Activity, episode 2, when they were doing enhanced versions of, and they did the little blurbs at the bottom of the screen to give you more information of what was more currently going on in our lives. So both episodes were really done well. We were really happy with how they handled it. So, but who knows, but with my agent, she really would like to get both books together as a major project and see, if, she has a screenwriter in mind in LA that she'd like to present to him and see, maybe do a movie deal or something, but everything's just up in the air. I just wanted to get the second book out and have people know, you don't have to be a special person who studies the psychic phenomenon or a medium or anything. You could be an everyday person who happens to get into a situation, just being an executor for a good friend that you love very much and wanted to do right by him, and then get into a haunted situation. And our journey's not ended yet. 7 years this has been going on.
Yeah, those artifacts you have need to be examined by museum people.
Yeah.
They could be worth a lot of money. And if they're not, what do you plan on doing with them?
Well, we are going to, if we have to, we'll move them out of the house. If we have to put them into a storage unit, my brother has offered, he has storage, his place of business. He has a warehouse next to his place of business that he owns. And, if we could just store things there, kind of get them out of the way, just get them out of the house and see if it, calms things down more. But what I'm afraid is what it might activate more, but we have to do something, and this is the year we're really purging. Now that the second book is finished, I can devote more time and seeing what things are just, there's a lot of my things down there that I need to get rid of, things from my parents. We sold their house last year, so there's a lot of things, but the artifacts itself, some things are not really quite valuable. They're more of a souvenir type of thing. So we've been talking about just doing an online auction. If people want to, we might do something like that with one of the auction houses and put things up from the Estate of Horror. Just put them up.
Estate of Horror, yeah. What about John Zaffis? I'm sure he'll take them.
Oh my goodness, he'd have to have another whole house to put them on. There's so much. There's literally hundreds and hundreds, of items in many, many, many boxes. So it's not, there are a couple of things that are, pretty serious with bad negative energy around it. We've taken them out of the house. That Bill Bean he pinpointed at least a few things that we got rid of. But the nature that we still have things going on, we know we're not in the clear at this point. And as I said, we're in an old property, and there is, what we did was we actually, they were dormant, and we activated things that were maybe being left alone here, and by doing this activated other things, and maybe they're not resting either. They don't like that they have these trespassers in the house, and and I keep apologizing. I'm sorry, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm sorry. I didn't want to upset you guys, or whatever.
Okay, Anita, we're just going to take a couple of questions tonight.
Okay.
All right, hold on. Roy said, my mod said you need to have a garage sale. Give things away. All right. So we have a couple of questions from Keith Rummel, who is an author of The Devil Tree. He wants to know, does she have any artifacts she can show us from her friend's house?
Well, one offhand, wait till you see it. If you would like to wait a minute.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
So you want?
Yeah. We want. I wish you had some of them to show us tonight.
Let me see. I'm trying to think what I have really close at hand.
Do you have that mummy doll?
I can grab that right away.
Oh, yeah.
And this other thing. If you want to wait a second or two, I'll be right back.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody, I want to thank you all again for joining us tonight. Hope you're enjoying the show. She's got an amazing story. Like I said, I will put the links to the other two shows. I did a show with her, I think in 2011 was our very first contact. I think that was when her first book, A State of Horror, and I think I was the first one to have her on a show. And the second show with Bill Bean. I'll put the links up to the shows on this video when it's finished archiving, okay? Okay, she'll answer a couple of your questions. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You know, I've got to run tonight after the show, so I'm hoping we can get the questions answered, and I'll say a fast shout out to everybody, and then I have to run. And I also want to thank my mods, Royce Hinman, Unique Annie, and I'm not sure if Crystal was in tonight. But I want to thank you, Maud, so much for being with me every week and really helping me out. I saw that one that you banned. I had also removed them from responding to any of the videos because they've got quite a mouth on them. Oh, here she comes back.
Here I am.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll show you the mummy doll first. They call it a mummy doll because it was it's not actually from a tomb of a mummy, but what it is, these dolls were made in the 1950s and sold as souvenirs in South America. But the actual material that they're made of are from mummy wrappings.
All right, let me put you on full screen. Go ahead.
So this is from the, let me see that. From the, I think it's Chichoro Indians. They make these mummy dolls, and the fabric you see dates from, like, it's probably like 1,000 years old. So this is my friend brought back from one of his travels, and she's holding a little babe. This is the back of it. See, there's a little. He's got. Yeah, what he paid? He paid $14 for it.
Did the psychic pick up any energy from that doll?
Yes, she did. Yeah, it's it's coming apart, but I try to have it wrapped. I was really surprised when I saw it, but it's really done very nicely. But all the wrapping, everything it's made of is really, really old. I'll also show you. Now this is my friend. He collected masks, and this is pretty scary. This is probably, I don't know if it's Indonesian or if it's Tibetan, and it's all hand carved from the inside. From what I could see, I'm not really sure how old it is, but it's pretty frightening looking, with the teeth.
And where did this come from? Do you know?
I don't. I'm not sure if it belonged to his father. But I think, to me, from what it looks like, it's either Indonesian or it could be Tibetan. And if people know anything about, I don't know if it's from any Nazi travels, because the Nazis were in Tibet, so I don't know. But it looks really old.
What, can I see? Can we see the back? Show us the back of it.
Yeah, its back it has some newer nails that were used to support it because it was falling apart. But the back looks like it's all hand carved too. So I don't know. That was in the basement. It was just in a brown paper bag. Like, I didn't even know when I opened up the bag, and I see this thing coming out of it. So that's kind of strange.
Wow.
That's but there's other masks and things.
You know what? You have something. You have more?
I have some arrowheads. Let me see. There's a here. They might be interested in seeing. This is here's a Indian. These are Indian artifacts that he picked up in his travels.
Is that a rock?
No, this is a spear.
Oh, a spearhead.
Yeah, see,
that's huge.
It's all handwork. Yeah,
wow.
This is from the Southwest, and then we got energy from some of this stuff too. This is part of a pipe, I think. It's really old, has holes in it. I don't know if it was part of a pipe, but but see, things aren't all labeled because he picked them up maybe when he was doing things, and now he's got some things labeled, but I know they're American Indian. Piece of pottery. There's a piece of pottery. But I have a box full of stuff like this. But he collected dolls that were like porcelain that came from Germany. I have a lot of German like Bavarian china pieces. But he traveled to Turkey. He was in Greece. He was in Italy so many times. As I said, I think it was 15 times in Mexico, South America, in Guatemala. But I have Egyptian, Roman, Greek statues. Some of them, they're mostly they're reproductions, but like I have American Indian child's moccasins. I have a cradle board. There's a shaman's headdress. It's made of buffalo hide with the horns.
Oh, I would love to see that.
Yeah, want to see that?
Wow. We should do a show. You know what, Anita? We should do a show some night and have you bring up the artifacts. And
I can have them all set and show you some of the. There's he collected a lot of religious artifacts, Madonnas, made from silver, pewter, a lot of pieces. He loved the Madonna figurine and the iconography. He originally studied for the Lutheran ministry, my friend, but then he became an anthropologist and studied all world religions. So, he was a really brilliant man. And the thing is, for him to have a sudden heart attack and die, and to have all these things kind of left, like he was in the middle of different projects. I just can't imagine, like the amount of surprise it must have been that when he like could realize, like, wait a minute, I'm not even alive anymore. And I think that was part of him trying to just let me know, I don't know what happened to me, and just tried to tell him, like, you passed away suddenly with a heart attack, and I got there at the hospital as soon as I can, but they kept him without me seeing him because they didn't know if they had to operate. He was unconscious. So one of the things I really regret is that I was not there when he passed, but I was there right after, and I told him how sorry I was that they kept me from seeing him, that there was protocol. They did not know if he didn't survive. They got him on the operating table, and his blood pressure crashed, but he had a massive heart attack at 55 years old, and he's it was a shock, and I still miss him because he was we used to have great conversations about history and archaeology, and he was a real movie nut. He loved movies, and he just loved all kinds of things. He was a real Renaissance man, he wrote. He was a writer, and I said to him, one of these days we ought to write a book together. Well, I guess we did write.
Yeah, you did. All right, we have a couple more questions.
Okay.
River wants to know, did your son see spirits when he was young?
Well, now we look back, and apparently there was, he used to have this thing when he was little, around 4 or 5. There was a period of time where he would wake up in the middle of the night and have to come into my bed because he said, the lady is looking at me, the lady's looking at me. I go, what do you mean the lady's looking at you? And I thought it was one of my portraits. I had a Renaissance woman portrait that I had painted, and it was near his bedroom. So I took the painting down, thinking maybe he sees this and it's scaring him. Well, now I'm realizing, I think it was this Marjorie. I think it was the caregiver that was looking in on him, and she didn't mean him any harm. But also, I came across, just by accident, a little diary he was keeping when he was in grade school, and he had written October 1991, and I guess he was about maybe 8 or 9 years old. The sly thing is under my bed. The sly thing is under your bed? What does that mean? Like, what did he write in pencil? Like, what was he seeing? And now we realize he pushed that out of his memory. And when he went to my friend's house, and he was very close to my friend too, because he grew up. My friend like was there all the time ever since my son was little, and I think what it did, it opened up these abilities, and it was a trauma for him because he used to get sick to his stomach, like when he was there for a while, and then he'd leave, then he'd come back, and then he still would work with me. But there is something definitely that he was tapping into, and now it's full blown. He has the where he has tried to put a stop on some of it, but he gets so drained after a night of these spirits visiting him. It's really tough for him the next day to even get moving and function.
Wow. Another question from River. Have you or your son ever experienced sleep paralysis?
I have. I've had sleep paralysis, and it was really bad for a while, and then it seemed to go away. But I actually felt I had the sleep paralysis. That was where you think you just can't move,
Right.
and but I also had another where I dreamed that I was levitating off the bed. That was like you could almost feel like the air under you, but I must have been asleep. But I have had some weird kind of things happen at night. I've heard some strange noises in my head, and it would wake me up, and then I would hear it for real, but nobody else in the house would hear the sound, so it was kind of like phantom audio, whatever. But I also now realize that I have had I have a gift too, that I suppressed it for years, but I've had like ESP. I've had different things that I could just different incidents of finding lost objects, because it would come right to my mind. I could find it right away. Or but being an artist, though, I always thought it was because I was an artist and I was really in tune to more concentration and things of meditation that maybe a lot of other people don't go into that profession or have that ability. But now I realize, my son has it, and now I look back at my grandmother, my dad's mother, she used to do a lot of things to ward off evil spirits, especially. So now my grandma, being Italian, I don't know.
Oh, Italian, yep. All right.
Yeah.
One last question from Lori Miller. How does Anita keep from being afraid in the house?
My faith and my belief in God, that I believe that I have protective people looking over me. I am deeply spiritual. I always have been. But I have come to where I am not feel like I'm associated with any mainstream religion anymore. I mean, I was brought up Catholic. I kind of got away from that. I was related with another religion for a while, but I feel now, because of my experience, that I take everything in as a universal kind of experience and spiritual experience. And I finally have come into my own in a lot of ways to understand why I feel the way, because I used to feel guilty if I wasn't going to church every Sunday or didn't do this or didn't do that. But now I realize there's so much more beyond what is just stated in practice of a certain religion. And believe me, people want to be in a certain religion, that's fine. I have great respect, because I was in a mainstream religion. But I feel like I have a connection, and there was a reason why we were meant for us to tell this story. I think there's more to it, even more that we're continually finding out, and hopefully, someday I'll know all the answers. But I don't really fear that much. I just trust in God. I have Bill Bean has blessed many things for me around my house. So I have the holy water, and I say prayers at night. But I actually don't. It doesn't bother me at night, because I think my bedroom is off limits too. Like, I don't feel like they even want to I hear outside my bedroom, I'll hear running around, going down the steps, but they better not come in my room, because I've got all the crosses and stuff. They're in for a real hard time if they try to come in my bedroom.
Oh, Anita, it was another fun show with you. I so enjoyed having you on the show. Thank you for coming back.
It's always a pleasure, Noreen. You're so great. I love your show, the format. Like I said to you before, it's like we're old friends sitting with a cup of coffee and having a conversation.
And don't forget, I'm really
thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And I'm really serious about you gathering up your artifacts, because I would love to do a show on your artifacts that you have. Okay?
Okay. Well, we'll have to find out how long your show is, because you don't want to do a 5-hour show. So, no, I'll pick out some really cool things that will be sort of a, like a little bit of a template of like all the different things that, that he left. And as I said, not everything is haunted or anything. It's just, I think it's just a combination of being together that there's a strength in number, and so if we dissipate the stuff little by little.
Well, you know what? We'll call the show Haunted Artifacts of Anita. That's what we'll do. That's what we'll do.
They call me the haunted author. If anybody...
Oh, yeah, the haunted author. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you want to go on my blog, I have 92,000 people who have read my blog. So if you want to go on, it's Anita Jo Intenzo haunted author blogspot.com. I have 75 blogs. There's a lot of pictures on my blogs. There's a lot of different subjects on the supernatural, not only my personal experiences, but also some things I found out in history that kind of give me a little bit more of a research interest that, people might find really fascinating. I think probably my most popular blog is the handprints, the demonic or the ghostly handprints, and several other things on Hitler and the occult and things that I discovered, and a couple other things on some of the things that I was involved in with, things I posted about spirit energy, some of the things that we captured on film. But yeah, if they want to go to my blogs, there's a lot of blogs there that I think they'll enjoy reading, and I have like a couple hundred a day people are reading the blog. So it's only a couple years I put the blog, but to have 92,000 views on it, I'm pretty proud of that. So it's interesting.
I've seen your blogs. Anita, again, I want to thank you so much. My best wishes with your new book, and I know it's going to do awesome. A State of Horror did awesome, and I know this one will be awesome as well. And Ellen, thank you for including me in the book.
My pleasure, because I wouldn't have done it without you, because you were the first person to believe me on as for social media, that you had me on your show for the first time, and you were the first person to have me live on a show, and I'll never forget that, because you believed in me. And maybe it's not because you're also Italian and from Philadelphia.
Awesome. Yeah, you got it. But that was what in 2011.
Yeah, I think so. It was before the first book came out that we were talking about it, because there was a bit of a delay to get the book out, because my mom took so ill that I had to put everything on hold for that, and because my parents died only 2 years apart from each other, so not only I was taking care of first with my dad and mom together, and then when he passed, my mom for 2 years took care of her. But I'll tell you, the writing kept me sane. It's an insane subject, but it's strange to say that, but knowing that I had a focus on writing to put this in words, it kept me knowing that, this really did happen, that you could put this down, and I have evidence, and, people like you helping me to get my story out. And I want to wish you a happy holiday, Noreen. My best to all your family.
Thank you.
And as I said, I'll love to be on your show again whenever you want me to be on.
Anita, honey, thank you, and Merry Christmas to you. And I love you, Anita. Love you.
And my best to all your listeners and followers, and I hope they also have a happy holiday.
Thanks, honey. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. That was... I hope you enjoyed the show, because I just love Anita. Her story is amazing, and every time I hear it, it's really awesome to hear. And I can't wait. Her son is going to write a book, and he's going to write a book about all the spirits and everything that's been coming to him in his dreams, and that's going to be also a pretty awesome book. Again, I want to thank my mods, Royce, Unique Annie, Sweet Annie. I'm not sure if Crystal made it tonight, but again, thank you to the mods. Also, I want to do a fast shout out. I've got to go to the store. My husband's sick, and he wants chicken soup. So I got to go to the store and get the fixings to make chicken soup for him. So don't forget, Monday, I got another show on Monday with Dave Spinks and David Weatherly, and it's on the Sinister, Dark, Evil Monroe House. Dave is they're gonna talk about it. The owners of the house are coming on, and Dave is gonna present the evidence, the EVPs and the video pictures that they captured from the Monroe house. Dave said it's really sinister. So that's on Monday, okay? Yes, I'm going to do some fast shout outs. And also Thursday, don't forget, I've got an awesome guest. She is a paranormal forensic. She's involved with serial killers, and she does forensic profiling. Okay, so I'm really excited about that as well. So let's do some fast shout outs. And also next Thursday is my last show for the month. I'm taking 2 weeks off and be back in January. All right, River. Oh my gosh. Nichelle Thompson, Donella, Daywood Love, Astral Virgin, Paraprincess Patricia, I See Lies, Keith Rommel again. Hey Keith, thanks again for joining the show. Don't forget, Keith is author of The Deviltry, and we aired a show together, and it's in the archives. If you want to watch it, was a great show. Nancy Soplavita, Lolly Tubi, Tammy Morrison. There's my Unique Annie, Astral. Oh gosh, I know. Astral Virgin, Chippa Terry, Ben Tucker, Leo Pardisida, Keith Rommel, Joanne Dion, River. Oh, this is awful. And Royce gets mad at me. He gets upset with me because he tells me what I can do. Okay, I just lost. Desert Deity, Be Singer 11. Let's see. Cody Desbians. Oh, okay, go ahead. Charlie Panada. Oh, hi, Charlie. Haven't seen you for a while. Jimmy Cortez. Also, everybody. April Fagan, Jimmy Cortez, and Armand Royce. Please send positive energy to them. They need your prayers and your positive thoughts to them, okay? Please send them your way. Please send it to them. We love Jimmy and Royce and April. Our best wishes to you. The Batsinator, Brandy Napier, Andrew Cox, and I did Jimmy. Let's see, who else wants a Real Psychic? Anybody else want a... Oh, thanks, Charlie. Yeah, I know you pop in every once in a while. It's nice to see you in the chat room. Anybody else want to shout out? TW Studio? Anybody else? Everybody, if I don't see you next week, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and have a good holiday. I'm really looking forward to it. Marlene oh my God, Alcala, Tammy Morrison, this is terrible, I'm sorry, Labratak. I'm awful at names. I'm really sorry. Anybody? Ben Tucker, Jeff Marr. Anybody else? Oh. Anybody? Adam Maury. Anybody else want to shout out before I leave? I got to go to the store. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I did. Adam Maury. Hi, Adam Maury. Thanks for joining. Anybody else want to shout out? Miller. I know Janet Wolf was in the show. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Luis Pedroza. Starry Night. Anybody else want to shout out? Because I got to go. Real Psychic. Oh yeah, it's raining here and it's cold. We're going to have a whole week and then a little break and then more rain, and California really needs it. Okay, everybody, I've got to go. I love you guys. Group hug to everybody. And hopefully I'll see you on Monday. I'm excited about that, my next week's shows. Again, thanks to Royce and Unique Annie. I love you guys, and I'll see you next Monday. Have a great weekend, okay? A great, safe weekend. David Jones. Okay? Good night, everybody. I love you. Thank you.